Palestinians take over all of 48 Palestine. They take back everything. What happens to the Israelis? What happens to the Jews?
They'll be like the Palestinians that are right here, right now.
What do you mean? There'll be an occupation?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think?
No, they won't be.
Is that what you want, or that's what you think will happen?
Well, they won't be an occupation because that would mean somebody from the outside coming in and taking over them. But it would be us reclaiming what's ours.
Okay.
So they would be our guests.
Okay.
So
Do you think they would be
have to
equal?
go by the Palestinian law.
Okay. Do you think they would be equal?
Would they be equal? They wouldn't be equal, no, but they would probably be given equal rights.
Okay, so what's the difference?
To be equal is like saying, are the Native Americans equal to the immigrants that come into the United States? That's the same thing. So the Palestinians are like the Native Americans,
Okay.
and the Israelis now are what the others that come into the United States.
Okay.
Or like everybody that came in on the Mayflower. That's how they would be.
Okay. Oh, the Israelis are like
Well, that's what
like
they are.
the Europeans.
That's what they are, yeah.
Okay, even though they were here before.
Who was here
The
before?
Israelis.
Where?
Here.
They weren't here before.
Of course they were.
No.
Jews were here before.
No, they weren't. Well, Jews, yeah, but not the Israelis.
What's the
There was
difference?
no Israel.
Doesn't matter. It's the same. They're still the same people.
There's a big difference.
Why?
Because Israel was. When was Israel established?
No, that's a country. So yeah. So there was also no France.
But see, it's,
You know,
it's
300
more-
years ago, they're still French people.
Right, but okay, so that goes back to Zionism.
Okay.
Jews were here before. Zionism didn't exist. They lived happily amongst the Christians and Muslims too.
Okay.
And there were Jewish Palestinians, there were Christian, like there are Christian Palestinians and Muslim Palestinians. So Zionism came in and it just made them think with their Zionist ideology, thinking that they're better than everybody else. And they used Judaism as an excuse to justify all the atrocities that they committed against the Palestinians. A lot of it is forgotten right now because time passed by and people just decided to overlook it.
That's what you think happened?
That's what I know happened. Because there are still a lot.
How do you know that? Because you're saying what Jews think.
Because you have Palestinians that live in Lebanon and in Jordan and in refugee camps all over the world. And where did they come from? They didn't just pop up out of nowhere. They had homes, they had towns, they existed in what was known as Palestine.
Okay.
And then they were kicked
No,
out
I'm
of it.
talking about that Zionism says Jews are better, and how did you phrase it?
Well, Zionism is racism, and they look at Zionists. You could be, as long as you're a Zionist, you could be from Poland, Russia. You're welcome to come into what they call now Israel, and you could have everything you want. You get an apartment, you get all the stuff that you could get in any modern world like the United States or in Europe, I'm assuming. But you could be born here, be a Palestinian, and you are not. You don't get any kind of right. You could be killed, and whoever killed you isn't going to be held accountable. Like what happened in this village over here, not so long, Kusra, a whole family was burned alive. The father, the wife, and one of the children. One is still recovering right now.
Yeah.
What happened to the guy that did it?
They haven't caught him yet.
They did.
No,
they
they
caught
didn't.
one of them. They gave him 30-day probation.
No, it's not what happened. It doesn't matter.
That's what the news said.
No,
That's
it was,
the
he
one-
was
that was
a
one
guy
of
was
their news
taken
said.
into custody for 6 months, but there's no proof that he did it yet.
Well, that's what they want to say, of course. It's how hard could it be when you have a few, well, actually more than a few radicals that are known in that area to do this kind of stuff.
Okay.
They could catch them if
Okay.
they wanted to.
So getting back to, so the Jews would stay if all of it becomes Palestine again. Wow. The Jews would stay.
Yeah, they could stay.
Okay. So they just wouldn't be thought of as native.
Well, they could stay. You know, it doesn't really matter whether they're native or not. Like you go to California. I live in California. I wasn't born in California, but I'm an American citizen. I get the right like any other American citizen gets.
Okay.
And there would have to be a law that would be equal to everybody. Now, whether that law is going to be, the next question would be who's going to enforce that law? The current Palestinians? I think that's very hard for them to implement that kind of law.
Why?
Because you can look at the laws implemented right now. There's a lot of corruption going on. Just like there's corruption in other places, in other entities, in other governments. I mean, it's ideal, but now is not the right time.
Okay.
What I think.
Okay. But is that the goal?
The goal right now, I think, is for peace to exist, to stop the killing, and then start step by step.
Okay.
The only problem is that it takes too long. It's taking too long, and a lot of Palestinians are killed in the process.
حل
الدولتين. What do you think of the two-state solution?
حل الدولتين، دولة فلسطينية ودولة إسرائيلية. أنا كفلسطيني مرفوض جدا.
As a Palestinian, I refuse this.
Okay.
لأن الأرض أرضي وأرض أجدادنا، كيف بدي أعطيهم أنا جزء منها يعني.
Because it's my land and it's my ancestors' land. How can I give it to someone else?
Okay, so if he takes back Palestine of 1948, what happens to the Israelis?